And Mikey, we're on the air. Look at that.
Every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday in 2024, you can count on us. That's Vinnie. I'm Mikey.
And that's Mikey over there.
He's in Seattle. I'm in LA. And the whole idea is, well, there is no idea. I'm sorry. There used to be an idea. We're past the ideas.
We had ideas, and
we had great ideas.
We got fired. So now we have no ideas, and we can't get fired.
I remember when they took KFWB off the air and turned it into The Beast, which was a horrible sports station. The Beast, if you can believe that. That was the name they came up with. They had all the names in the world that they could have chosen. They chose The Beast. And they decided that CBS Radio didn't have to be in radio anymore, and they made a deal with Intercom. And it didn't take long that the whole operation, WCBS, WBBM, KNX, KCBS, KROQ, KRQR, all the great call letters, all the great stations, all the great formats were taken right into the toilet. And now they declared bankruptcy to save their worthless, lying, cheating skins. And what was once known when I joined it as the Tiffany Network is not even a shadow of its former self, not even a remnant of its former self, hardly a memory of its former self. And it has to be one of the saddest episodes in modern radio. They kept making buggy whips until the very end, Vinnie.
Well, it's not just a sad story in modern radio, but it's a sad story in broadcasting, in the history of broadcasting, because you took this top line, credible, beautiful radio network that had stations from coast to coast, that was innovative in sports, innovative in news, was, when that ding hit the top of the hour, you knew what was coming next.
The Plinks, PLNX, Plinks.
Yeah, when that sound sounded, you knew that there was a credible, quality newscast.
Like Frank Sedapani, for instance.
Right. That was coming next. And then it was backed up with truth. It was backed up with not just one guy looking at a press release, but it was backed up with a staff of people, even though it was radio, a staff of credible people who had been around a while and knew how to pick truth from consequences. Knew how to pick the right stuff from the bull.
They knew what a lead story was. They knew what the second story was. They knew exactly how long they were. They knew who their correspondents were around the world.
Exactly. When they dialed up Peter Mayer, when they dialed up so many of these different guys that they had around the world, they dialed them up. And they were there, and they were telling you what happened, not just what somebody told them happened, but what they actually either witnessed or had three people who were associated with the news story tell them
confirm
that it happened.
Yeah, CBS News can confirm that it happened.
And if it wasn't true, if they didn't know, they said CBS cannot confirm.
Right.
This is the story that's going on, but beware.
But we cannot independently confirm it.
Then along came Twitter, and along came the internet, and the next thing you know, people didn't put the same value on news that they once did. They put value on Matt Drudge, and they put value on Fox News, and they put value on Steve Bannon, and they put value on all of these other things that weren't news, but opinion, entertainment, speculation.
Flooding the zone with shit.
what they basically did is they went ahead and they turned news into sports. Because sports, you would have somebody come on and bloviate. Well, I don't think this guy, and I think this guy, and I don't think this guy, and I don't know this trade rumor, that trade rumor, this trade rumor. And they took news, and because sports did so well, they started to do that with news.
In fact, your last sports station, WFA, W Ticket, whatever it was,
The Fan.
The Fan. Sorry.
KDKA.
Is part of the CBS, was part of the CBS family. Now it's part of the Intercom death march across the frozen tundra to 0 ratings, 0 influence, and 0 revenue.
Well, this is a company that took CBS radio. CBS saw the handwriting on the wall.
They wanted to get out of the radio business. They wanted
to get out of the radio business. They had been in it since the beginning as the Columbia Broadcasting System. And they said, it's probably time. This is going downhill. We can make more money in digital. We can make more money in television. We can make more money in streaming. We can make more money in movies. And there's this thing called podcasting that's coming along. And we think it's going to be huge. We think that sound will exist, but it won't exist in the way that it exists now. And so let's find somebody for these radio stations.
They're looking for a sucker.
And along came David Field and Intercom. Somebody that I had worked for, somebody that I actually admired in this business because of the way they built their business. And maybe they couldn't handle it. Maybe it was too big for them. Who knows? Maybe just maybe the money that used to go to radio is now going to digital.
You know when it stopped? Yeah. You know when the flow stopped and never returned? It was the pandemic. People decided that they
before that, Michael.
Well, there was a trend there, and there was a target there, and there was a place to place your buy, but more people did it during that time than at any other time, and never returned to radio because radio became a non-factor in every element of its execution. It was a non-factor. Well, you can't turn on KNX and hear news anymore. All you hear is traffic.
Yeah, I don't know if it became a non-factor, but the allure of it and the people that would do, because you don't have the broadcasters anymore. You don't have I mean, I used to be able to tell you the lineup on every radio station in town. Who was now? Of course, I'm in the business, but I could tell you that this guy was on at this time, this guy's on at that time, this guy's on at that time. Boom, boom, boom. You don't have that anymore, and you have a group of people that work at radio stations now, especially news stations, and I'm really talking news here and talk more than anything else.
Like WINS and WCBS.
Right. Like Cairo and what used to be Como here, that don't go out and develop stories anymore.
They don't want to put a man on the street. They don't want to put a reporter on in his news wagon.
They take a news story from a press release. They take what the PIO calls them and tells them. They take they watch a Twitter feed and they take stuff off of that and they pass that off as news.
And Vinnie, the interesting thing about that is there was a time when KCBS would put 3 reporters on the street during the morning shift.
Yep.
And they would have stories that would run all day long. And then they would get their secondary story, and they'd fire two stories a day if it wasn't a big story that they didn't get pulled away from. But that's not the way it is anymore. And the phonalization of news, they got nobody. They don't. I can't even begin to tell you how it's de-evolved. They would have an inside reporter, an editor, 2 anchors, everybody working on stories, everybody working on rewrites, everybody working on the next hour. A team of reporters would be working on it. Now, it was the most expensive format in radio, without a doubt. But if you were trained and could make news on a slow news day, you were a professional.
And it was compelling to listen to. And because it was delivered by personalities, it was delivered by people that you trusted, it was delivered by people that you had a relationship with.
I'd like to talk to Holly Kwan today, find out what her job is really like these days.
And it doesn't. Most markets don't have that anymore. I mean, most markets. I mean, I clip around and look at newscasts in different cities, on YouTube, on television. Because you can click around and look at different cities and what. I mean, half of the news reporters can't speak English.
They end their sentences with prepositions.
Half of the news reporters can't craft a word. Can't put all of the pieces of a sentence in the correct order.
And it doesn't concern them or their editor or their general manager.
Because it's all about just get it on the air and get the ad revenue. Get what money you can. So, I don't know, Michael. I don't know where the radio business is going to go.
And you can't blame just CBS. Salem went the same way. They got delisted from NASDAQ. You have to go up to the counter and beg the people to sell you something, a piece of Salem.
Well, I feel sorry for the people that own stock. I mean, I have a lot of friends that have their 401ks tied up in stock in those companies, and especially CBS or Entercom. And they're not looking too good at the moment.
It's non-existent. It's money that doesn't exist anymore.
Friends that work there that they're firing them left and right. So
if you work on a smaller market, doesn't even have to be tiny, just a smaller market. They expect the morning guy to do 3 hours of news with no news, do a talk show later in the day, gather news, go to the city council meeting at night, get up at 3 a.m, come back and do news. A one-man news department with a 3-hour morning show. Where's the news coming from? Where do they think the news comes from?
Well,
the general manager has no realistic idea of where news is generated or how it's accumulated or how it's organized or how it's tabulated.
Well, I think they have an idea, Michael. I just don't think they have the money to do it. Again, they're not, when you have companies that have stockholders, you have to show the stockholders a profit. You're not worried about being the pillar of the community. Say what you want about Barry Ackerley, but when he owned KJR, he was worried about what that station sounded like, what that station sounded like to his community, to his friends.
But I can say what I want about Barry Ackerley as long.
And we used to complain about that, and we used to, well, now look, now nobody cares. Now it's all about cutting money. It's all about can we squeeze a profit out of this for the stockholders?
Grab your friends and get some grub at our remote. We got the same sausages we've had for 6 months. Oh
anyway,
boy, Alberto.
You know what? I got to be honest though with you, Michael. I don't know the people that are listening to us this morning are all that interested in what's going on in radio. Otherwise, they'd be listening to radio instead of listening to us.
Well, it's the collapse of a giant company that was once very influential and was once the standard by which all the other companies measured themselves. And it is sad that through an acquisition and incompetence and the passage of time, that great organization is no more.
Well, I think what people are I don't know about in LA. I don't know how interested they are in LA, but I know up here, you'll be able to drive down the street tonight at what is it, 5 o'clock is game time?
4:30.
4:30. You'll be able to drive down the street, making big circles
From here to Pigwallop.
from here to Puyallup and not hit anybody. Because either everybody is in Houston or they are getting ready to tune up their TV sets and their radios and whatever else they can listen to get the game results. As
the accounts of the game, the accounts of the game. I love that phrase.
The accounts of the game, because tonight the Huskies and the Wolverines of Michigan will play for the college football championship.
You know why I picked the Huskies? It's the idea that if you see a husky walking along the road, you can pet him, say good boy, pick him up, kiss him, cuddle him, give him some food and a treat, and you're better off for it. Do not pick up a Wolverine. This is my advice to you. It's not any support for the Michigan team. This is just animal and human advice. In your travels around this planet, if you encounter a Wolverine, do not try to pick it up. Don't try to give it a treat. Don't hug it and kiss it. Don't say good boy and pat it on the head. But that's just the representation of the team. The Wolverines of Michigan, the football team, if there's anything that you can say that they lack, it's their ability to score a lot of points. And so this is my repetition from the picks we made last week. The Huskies, however, are a high-scoring, potent offense. They may have weaknesses elsewhere. They may have problems that we'll see surface and present themselves tonight. But one thing they can do that Michigan cannot do is score a lot of points against anybody, against any team, against any opponent, against any foe, against a Wolverine even. And that, I think, is the balance of the game. And it's going to be a wonderful thing to see. And the Huskies deserve it. They've played well. They've got great teams. They have an extraordinary coach. It seems like the sports department, which we've seen in tatters before, is organized and confident and making good decisions based on history, research, and factoring out what this person is going to mean to the university. Where in the past, they made some hires, as you know, Vinnie, especially at head coach, that didn't translate into anything. They translated into just dysfunction and disappointment and losses. And there's no excuse for that, except that I think that the front office of the sports department was making decisions without research, without factoring in the future, without proper checking of the person's background and who you're really getting. Did they think Rick Newhastle was going to be the end-all and be-all? Yeah, they did for about 30 minutes.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where the program went south.
Yeah.
And if you want to jump back into the history of the program, yeah. You know, they Barbara Hedges, who was the athletic director at the time, didn't particularly like Jim Lambright, who was the head coach at the time, took over for Don James, was dealt a horrible hand because Don James bolted on this team.
He ankled,
Don
as they
James
say.
said, if I can't win, if my team is sanctioned, I don't want to coach here. And said, here, Jim, you take it. And took off for sunny Southern California. Now, Don James is a hero here because he won that half a national championship back in the 90s. But I hope that Kalen DeBoer and his team will be able to eclipsed that legacy. That's the legacy that the Huskies have hung on to for all these years. And it's a false narrative. First of all, it was only half a national championship. It wasn't a whole national championship. And the second thing was nobody ever talked about the fact that with the sanctions and the way they did it, which was under the table and with no-show jobs and everything else, everybody, oh my God, the NCAA is attacking us. Well,
yeah,
the NCAA found out what was going on.
You asked for it.
And I'm pretty sure that the NCAA, or what's left of it, could investigate this team from now until doomsday and not find anything of the shenanigans that went on with the Huskies back in 1991, 92.
It's not a criticism to say that Don James was an old school coach. I saw one of the practices before the Rose Bowl game here in Pasadena. They were practicing in Glendale. We went over there and watched it. John James stood in a tower and looked down on the field and just pushed the pieces around like it was a game board. Wasn't in touch with his players, wasn't talking to his players, barely talked to his assistant coaches who ran the practice. He was at a distance. He was the godfather, the dog father, and he ruled from on high. Literally, actually ruled from on high. Now, there's no coach in the NFL or in college football that does that way anymore. But at that time, that was the way it goes. If you were a senior, you played. If the freshman below you was a star, he sat. Why are you sitting your stars? I'm playing the seniors. Don't you want to win? Don't you want to put the best player on the field? That was not even a consideration of his.
Right. It was a different, and listen, to be fair, it was a different time. It was a different place.
You're right, Ben.
This championship, if this Washington Husky team can pull it off tonight, and I have every reason to believe that they can. I think one of the pleasures of coming back here to Seattle has been watching Penix play.
Yeah.
It's real. I've been so fortunate in my life, sports-wise, to see so many great players. For whatever crazy reason, I have always wound up where great players are.
You mean like Joe Namath?
Like Joe Namath, like Tom Seaver. I'll even acknowledge the Yankees' great players like Reggie Jackson, and then the Knicks in the '60s, and then going from there to San Francisco, where I watched Joe Montana in all his glory, and then passed the baton to Steve Young, begrudgingly, but he passed it to him.
He had to. Do you remember John McVay decided to trade him to Kansas City?
People forget how, revisionist history is interesting because people forget how tough that transition was. That was not a peaceful transition.
Nope. Joe was not willing to go.
Joe didn't want to go, and they had made a decision that Steve was the guy. And, but I got to watch him. I got to watch Steve Young. I got to watch Jerry Rice.
I think two quarterbacks we have to mention are Billy Joe Hobart and Mark Brunell, because they had great years. Their legacy may be tainted in your memory, but their performance on the field was consistent and worthy of respect.
And I think it's neat that, and I don't, of course they're going to go down here, but I'm sure. But, most of the 91 championship or half championship team is in Houston to back up, to show support for this 2023 version of
Excellent.
This team.
Good job.
And I think that's a good job. I love the way the Husky fans are heading down to Houston. I thought it was kind of quiet last week, and the only reason it was quiet is because everybody was making reservations for Houston.
I'm on my phone. Leave me alone.
Yeah, and just to see all of the people to think of so many of my friends, so many people I know that I've worked with that are heading down there, that are going down there, and not just people in sports, but people in all walks of business and all walks of life, heading down there, or go to party tonight to watch that team. I'm not saying that one team deserves it more. The team that works the hardest, the team that that team, the team that's coached the best is the team that deserves it.
And one other factor on the national stage with young men playing football, with the nerves that they're going to be carrying around, turnovers is going to be a factor. You
Yeah,
cannot give them the ball. You may not give them the ball.
right. And that's why I think one of the key matchups here tonight is going to be Will Johnson from Michigan, and and how Michigan and Harbaugh will negate some of the great wide receivers that Washington has, and Penix's ability to get to those guys, to get the ball to them.
And how many teams has Michigan faced this year where their defensive backfield were so important to stemming the offensive prowess of their opponent? How many
Well,
teams did they face like this? Not that many.
he's the number one cornerback in college football, um, and it's the number two passing defense in college football, Michigan. So it's going to be something to watch to see, um, because the Huskies are all about passing the ball. They're all about the big play. I mean, they can run the ball up your gut, but Penix makes his money on tossing that ball around to some great wide receivers. And so, but I think you bring up a great point about, as cool of a customer as Penix is, as cool as a customer as the Huskies are, that national stage affects you. That week that you're in Houston and everything that you're doing, just like it affects the pro players this week in the Super Bowl.
Sure it does. Especially the ones who haven't been there before.
Yeah, and this is a guy, and these are young men, impressionable men, young men who are facing a gazillion distractions, and they're going, they got to put all of that out of their heads. They got to take all of that and get rid of it, and focus on the game. And that's where I think the coach and the coaching staff, besides designing plays to beat Michigan, also have to design things that keep their guys engaged in the team and not in all of the bull that's going on around the team.
And the kicking game, it's got to be pristine.
Well,
give me those points. Just take the points.
yeah, I think I'm really, I'm fascinated by this game. Just not because it's the Huskies, but I'm just fascinated by the game, and one team does what the other team negates so well. So if the Huskies can't, if they can't pass the ball, if they can't get the ball to Odunze and the receivers, will they be able to come up with something else? Will they be able to run the ball? What will they be able to do to negate what Michigan does the best?
And make sure no sacks and no loss of the ball. If you've only got 2 seconds, 1, 2, that decision has to be made, and it has to be made before the defensive line gets through to the quarterback.
Well, I just think that that the one thing that I've noticed about Penix is that he is a cool customer.
He's been there.
He doesn't wilt under pressure. The Huskies have had a number of wins this year where it's come down to that final drive, or it's come down to that last 5 minutes of the game,
or 2.5.
or 2.5, and he has operated like a pro. He has gone through them and operated in a manner which befits a pro quarterback. He doesn't get shaken, he doesn't get stirred, and he doesn't get bombed. None of it. I mean, he really is. And
we saw the Huskies defense make great strides in their last game. Against Texas, they really bothered the quarterback and got to him, upsetting their offense on a regular basis. They must get to J.J. McCarthy. He's a good quarterback, obviously. That goes without saying. But he's not the dynamic, gifted quarterback that Penix is. He doesn't have that many weapons. He doesn't have as many tools. He doesn't roll as well. He doesn't run as well. He doesn't pass as well, as accurately. And that's going to be a factor today because he's going to be busy back there. And the Huskies must pressure the quarterback. And as Al Davis once said, the quarterback must go down, and he must go down hard.
Yeah, it's, yeah. And I don't know. I mean, Penix's offensive line is good. I don't know how good the Michigan offensive line is. I know that the Huskies' defense is able to knock people around.
Yes,
I know they have some quick linebackers on that defense who have no problem, getting to the quarterback. The good thing that Michigan has, and you saw it against Alabama, was the ability to not show the same thing all the time. The ability to mix it up. They're like a cocktail, you mix it up a little bit and you show them something different.
Motion, run pass,
Moving around.
Right.
Exactly. And they're going to try to, they're going to try to, and they're going to try to get the Penix, man. The defense is going to do what they can to get to him. I don't know if they are going to be able to.
I think he's more mobile than McCarthy.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's like I said. I think it's going to be, as Mike Tomlin would say, this is going to be a compelling game in all phases of the game. I love listening to Mike Tomlin. By the way, the Steelers made the playoffs. The Seahawks did not.
Yeah, that's probably as it should be.
Yeah, I don't know that the Seahawks had a playoff worthy team this year.
They weren't going to go anywhere in the playoffs. They didn't
I
go
don't know
anywhere to
that the
get
Steelers do either, to be honest with you.
Well, now that they lost Watt, yeah, it's going to be hard.
Yeah. So, but I never put anything past Mike Tomlin, the Steelers head coach, to come up with a scheme to beat a team or two. I don't think you'll see him in the Super Bowl, but you may see him advance a game and maybe even two. And the way this NFL is set up now with these seeded, it'll be interesting to see that they're going to play Buffalo. I think they got, I think the Steelers caught a break there.
What's wrong with Buffalo? They stink half the time. It's a compelling team that stinks.
Well, half the time they stink, and then half the time they beat up on you. They're a very.
You're right about that. Team. You're right. It's half the time.
Yeah, half the time they go half the time they seem like they're, Allen and company, and they just look like they can put the ball wherever they want. And against Miami last night, they looked like they were picking them apart.
Yeah.
And then other times you're looking on Buffalo, and
They can't make a first down.
yeah, they look like a you know they look like a high school team. So I don't know. I don't know. I picked Buffalo to win a lot, and I think the Steelers could go in there. What do they play? I think they're the first game on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. But I think the Steelers could go in there and beat Buffalo.
Oh yes, they could.
Yeah, I think that and Mason Rudolph is playing well.
And
Not spectacular.
that surprises you because you really were not a supporter of his.
No, no, I didn't think he was much of anything, to be honest with you. But and I thought Kenny Pickett was the be all end all. So shows you my talent evaluation. Hey, Mikey, if we could evaluate talent at any kind of credible level, do you think we'd be sitting here on Facebook doing a radio show? No. I'd be working for some football team.
Bring
Getting
your talent over and I'll evaluate it.
getting those road meals, man, getting those expense accounts for being a scout or something like that. I'd be on the road.
Hey, speaking of sports, do you know the outfielder Teovar Hernandez who just signed with the Dodgers?
Teoscar.
Teoscar.
Teoscar, yes, he was here last year. Had a slow season, never delivered exactly what the Mariners needed, but when he did deliver, he hit the ball and hit the ball a ton.
Well, he has been paid to be part of the Los Angeles Dodgers outfit.
Why not? Everybody else is.
Can they play more than 9 guys?
They seem to think they can because they seem to be stocking up at every position.
My
I
God.
mean, the one salvation, Michael, is that, and you know it as well as I know it, it isn't the money you spend all the time. You can go out and spend a ton of money and get every superstar in the business
And
on
then
your team. But there has to be that intangible that happens. They got to be able to play. Look at the Yankees in the 80s. Look at the Mariners Mariners had every superstar in baseball almost. They went out and spent $100 million and lost 100 games.
remember the swinging A's.
Yeah, I mean, you I feel bad for well, I don't know if I actually do feel bad for the rest of baseball, to be honest with you. I mean, God bless them. They got the money, they could sign him. What it does to me is it makes me kind of root for them to fail.
Oh, the curse of Chavez Ravine has been revved up by like 1,000%.
Yeah, it kind of really makes me root for them to fail. Because you're signing all of these, you're laying out all this ridiculous money. You're driving up the price of players so that teams like the Pirates and the Mariners will never be competitive. I mean, the Mariners are cutting. They're cutting their payroll.
That's not the trend in baseball right now. I just want to point that out to the Mariners. They're going
Nope.
against the trend.
The Mariners are gonna, it'll be interesting to see what they field this year because everybody that helped them last year at least get close to the playoffs is gone.
Everybody.
They're all gone, and it's for nothing except salary. I mean, they've become the Pittsburgh Pirates.
The Pittsburgh Mariners.
And again, I don't know how people are going to react to this, but I got to tell you that Root Sports, which is now 100% owned by the Mariners, picked the wrong time to raise their to become to ask people for $20 extra.
Yeah.
A month.
Here's a great combination. We have less of a team than we did before, but the bill went up for you guys.
Right.
Not just for us. We're cutting our expenses as a team, but we're increasing your expenses as an individual. So what do you think of that? Happy birthday.
Because we want to sign high dollar free agents. Well, where are they? Well, we let them go. Why? Because we don't have high dollars to pay them.
We're hiring new anchors for Root Sports.
Yeah, we're gonna sink our money in Tom Glasgow and Brad Adam. That's where we're gonna put our money. We don't need players. We just need guys that can sell the product.
Sounds like Odyssey's business model.
Well, look, the Pirates have survived as a baseball club on a business model that says that for a certain amount of nights a year, this is the only thing to do in town. Therefore, people are going to come here. And if we give out enough bobbleheads and we have enough fireworks nights and we have enough promotions, now the difference is with the Pirates, I don't see this with the Mariners. The difference is with the Pirates is that the tickets are half the price of Mariners tickets.
Oh. Yeah, that's a big difference.
The Pirates is you can go to a Pirates game and buy a ton of food for probably less than you could buy it on the street. It's probably cheaper for you to take your 4 kids to a Pirates game than to take them to Eaton Park. So I'm just saying that you take them to a Pirates game and feed them than to take them to Eaton Park and feed them.
And you can actually park at a Pirates game for how much?
I think you can park for, I think it's $10 at a Pirates game, or it used to be. I don't know what it's gone up to. But yeah, and it's $50 to park at a Mariners game. $50 to park at a Mariners game.
And that $50 goes in the pocket of the Mariners or some subsidiary parking company?
The Mariners. So, but they know that people are going to go. They know that if you make the environment at the ballpark fun enough, that enough people will go to make it profitable.
Does the Peanut Man chase the Beer Man in the outfield in the 7th inning? Because I love that.
That's the pierogies that chase each other at PNC Park. The Mariners use the reliable hydro races.
Oh, yes.
Which have been around. As a matter of fact, I don't know that the real hydro races are here anymore.
But are there little foam boats with legs out the bottom of them running in the outfield?
No, they do it on the screen. Everything is on the screen.
No, I want to see them run.
Yeah, see, I like that. I would rather see, three kids in hydroplane uniforms. At least the pierogies
with the little legs.
Yeah, they get the little legs. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to baseball this year.
37 days.
I don't know how much. I just don't know how much the Mariners are going to win. I just don't know that this team is going to be able to compete.
Well, you got Mitch Haniger back.
Yeah, there you go. He was a key factor for the Giants last year, wasn't he?
Well, in his defense, he got to the team late, got hit by a pitch ball, broke his arm, was out of action for most of the season. And when he returned, he hit 209 and 3 or 4 home runs.
Well, Henniger is an interesting case here because I think part of what happened last year with the Mariners is that it just seemed like there came a point last year where it was within their grasp and they just couldn't grasp it. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they quit. I don't know what they did. And it just seemed like it almost seemed like they made stupid mistakes. It just seemed like they forgot how to play baseball in the last month of the year.
Now, you're talking about the Mariners or the Giants? Because you're describing my team too.
Haniger was considered a leader up here. He had credit. He was considered a guy that now leadership is only going to take you so far. And you don't have
usually it doesn't take you much past the sunflower seeds.
You've gotten rid of the guys that he could have led. You know? I mean, let's face it. Now, I don't know. I don't know, Mikey, what this team is going to look like this year.
No, you won't have Richie Ray to kick around anymore.
Robbie Ray, yeah. Yeah, you won't have, well, you know, and he'll probably have another Cy Young year.
Well, right now he's healing. I hope he's doing his physical therapy the way he's supposed to.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. I mean, I got to admit, I was never all that impressed with him. He had some sparkling moments when he first got here, but he did not look like a Cy Young Award winner at any point in his.
Well, obviously he was. What the Mariners didn't know is he was hurt and couldn't pitch to his previous stature.
You know, the Mariners seem to have luck with that. Go out and get these pitchers.
Did they call that luck in baseball? Is that what they call
it? They go out and they sign free agents. They pay them lots of money, and they suck. They come here, and it's been one of the intriguing things to me about baseball here in the Northwest.
Is how many guys can suck?
How many guys come here and are stars in other places, and the Mariners sign them, and they collapse.
They take all the baseball out of that boy.
There's a long list of players over the past 30 years that the Mariners have gone out and signed who have been really good, solid players in other places. And they've gone out and they've gotten them to sign here, and they've collapsed.
And you know, they paid
them good money. It's not like they paid them less.
There's no real good reason for it, but it just happens again and again. Something takes them out of the game.
It's pretty amazing to me sometimes to go over that list and look at some of the people they've signed. And, you know, again, you go Eric Bedard, you go Scott Spezio, you go Richie Sexson. I mean, these are all, again, I'm going down the list of guys that came here were solid players other places. And for some reason, when they got here.
And it doesn't seem to matter whether it's an infielder, an outfielder, a pitcher, someone from the American League, the National League.
Doesn't matter.
They show up. In fact, the only guy who maintained his non-Seattle status was Lou Piniella. He didn't change. He didn't get stranger. He didn't turn into a Scandinavian version of Lou Piniella.
He was as fiery here as he was anywhere else that he worked. But again, just the bust free agent signings that the Mariners have had over the years, it kind of makes you wonder. It makes you realize why they're probably reticent to spend the kind of money that some of these free agents command.
I mean, they have the idea that no matter what we do, it's not going to be any better.
I think you could take that as a mantra of the Seattle organization, that no matter what we do, it's not going to get much better.
And that's just so defeatist. Yeah. No matter what
Oh
we
yeah,
do.
because you defeated. I mean, basically. Now I'm not going to say the Mariners have no shot this year, because I think that strange things happen and players come together, but it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, they signed a catcher out of Texas. They needed a catcher because the rules say you have to have somebody to stop the pitches. You can't let the umpire do it.
No, the umpires aren't supposed to throw the ball back to the pitcher.
Nor is he supposed to stop the pitcher. It's supposed to be something in front of the umpire to stop the ball.
It's good to have a
From
catcher.
hitting the umpire.
There's been some great ones. You could look it up, as Casey would say.
And they have, and even though they in the American League they used to wear those big balloon chest protectors,
Yeah,
which
they
I'd like
did.
to personally see come back.
I'd like to see those return.
There was nothing like an AL umpire leaning down with that wall of material. Oh my God. Just that guy lugging that thing around for for a couple hours in 100-degree weather in Cleveland.
You get a 100-mile-an-hour fastball with a quick tip to the chest protector of the umpire, which bounces off and hits the catcher in the back of the head. Concussion.
I wonder what they did with all those old. I mean, those were grand. I love those things.
Now,
Although,
you see, instead of a baseball card, let's give a value to that. An American League umpire chest protector.
although people said, and I don't know if you remember this, but a lot of people said that that's why the strike zone was different in the American League than it was in the National League, because they couldn't see over the protector.
But it was movable. They held it in front of them. They could put their head right there on the curve.
But it was like a shield, it was like a Viking shield. Oh man. So anyway, well, we have what do we have to spring training? 60, not even 60 days, right? We got
Pitchers and catchers, it's only 35 days.
35 days spring training. I don't know, man.
And you
I
see,
really thought,
that shows you again that catchers are important, because the pitcher could show up by himself and he throws the ball and then that's it. One toss. Spring training's over. If we had a catcher, he could have thrown the ball back to me and I could warm up. But no.
well, could you put a net there?
But you still have to get the ball back to the pitcher.
Well, no, but you have those things that like those trainers that you put in the backyard. It has the
Returns the
tight
ball.
net, and you throw it at the ball, and the ball comes right back at you.
Oh, yes.
I mean, maybe you could throw one of those at out there and save some money. Maybe the Mariners could save some money by only playing 8 people.
Maybe they can invent a ball return system and sell it to the other teams. Profit.
Well, was it Finley that invented the
Orange baseball.
No. Didn't he have a ball return system or something? Or a system to bring the balls out to the umpire or something like that?
Oh, when
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, it's yes, the poor Mariners, man. I love them. We were a big part of them staying here. But
They're not aggressive enough. They're too nice. They're too complacent. They're too quiet. They're too Seattle. They've got to be a competitor. Now look at the Dodgers. You think the Dodgers reflect Los Angeles? LA is a sunny, laid-back place. They like to win. They expect it of the Lakers, and it doesn't happen. They think it's going to happen with the Dodgers, and they're constantly disappointed. So what you said at the beginning of the show is right, Vinnie. The Dodgers have placed themselves in the position where they are bound to lose by the factor that they designed everything to win. And that's not the way baseball works.
Well, you need
In the Dodgers plan, there's no bingo, there's no energy, there's no team strength, there's no togetherness. It's just individuals paid too much money to perform as best as they can with the negatives surrounding Chavez Ravine. And the Dodgers always lose at home. That's where they come apart.
Well,
of course, I hate the Dodgers, so you don't expect me to say anything clever about them.
I was just going to say the best thing you're going to be able to say is that it's nothing about the Dodgers. Let me ask you though about Anthony DeSclafani.
Come see, come saw.
Yeah, what's the pedigree on him?
Had some good outings, had some pathetic stretches. Wasn't reliable, wasn't dependable, was not a factor in the upside of the team, but became a factor in the downside of the team because out of the bullpen, which is where he performed, he was not a dependable factor. And they had hopes for him. So for a pitcher that can't pitch until midseason with the Tommy John recovery, you get your outfielder back who couldn't play for us. You get a pitcher who didn't make headlines when he was in San Francisco. He was I have to just say, come see, come saw pitcher. You don't know what you're going to get, but don't be surprised if somebody lights him up.
Well, they dumped a ton of money. Well, I don't know, man, because I think the Mariners sent money to the Giants with Robbie Ray. I don't know what, I mean, he was getting some big bucks, and I'm sure there was a salary dump there. The one thing the trade did do, and when last year the outfield was Julio Rodriguez and who the hell else?
And two other guys.
Yeah, there was this guy, that guy, this guy, that guy. Put this guy there, put that. Now at least when you couple the trade of getting Haniger back and also sending Jose Caballero to Tampa Bay for Luke Raley. Now I don't know a heck of a lot about Luke Raley, but it looks like at least what they're trying to do is have 3 consistent outfielders out there every day, which, if they're good, is a wonderful thing. But they're trying to put some good outfielders around Julio Rodriguez.
Well, Giants don't have that problem. We have too many outfielders, but they're all hitting 220.
Well, that's it. I mean, you got a little bit of power with Luke Raley. He's a 250 hitter. So we'll see what happens. He's 29 years old. We'll see how it shakes out.
I hate the idea that the Giants have just accepted their fate as a second division wannabe.
Well, do you really think they have? I mean, it shocks me that they would sign Bob Melvin to manage the team and then become aspire to become a second division team. Now, let's face it, you have the same problem in the National League West that you do in the American League West. You have one team that has a hell of a lot of marbles.
Yeah.
But as we saw with the Texas Rangers last year, sometimes you can put the marbles together and go around that team with all the marbles.
And sometimes you can lose. Sometimes in baseball, you can lose all your marbles.
It's not hard to do that. I'm just hoping that, it's kind of sad because, the Mariners are the only team that's never been to the World Series. And it doesn't feel like they're going to get there anytime soon.
No, one cannot be optimistic about World Series time. What's your pick for tonight? What's the score going to be tonight, Vin?
I'm going to go with 35-21 Huskies.
Very close.
What did you have?
31-17.
Yeah, I'm going to go 35-21 Huskies. I think Michael Penix tonight is going to show the college football world that he should have been the Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah. But, there's a certain kind of curse that goes with that. And I'm perfectly happy with him not getting the Heisman as long as he has a healthy and dynamic career in the NFL, where he would end up. God, please don't let it be the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, the Bears couldn't even help the Seahawks yesterday. The Bears could have won that game and beat Green Bay, and the Seahawks would have been in the playoffs, and not that they would have gone far, but it would have been nice to see. Now we got to see. Well, I don't know. I'm going to worry about tonight's game. I'm not going to get too ahead of myself here. I'm going to worry about tonight's game. I'm going to enjoy. What hopefully will be a good game. Where the Huskies whip Michigan, and this town will be on fire. I think for the Huskies, there'll be a big parade next week or later this week probably, and all of that kind of stuff that goes along with that. And
wet ticker
the
tape.
Huskies will have a true national championship, not shared with anybody else, earned not by the pen of some writers, and they'll have a whole new group of Huskies and a coach who, for my money, has done an unbelievable job with this program and has gotten people to buy into it, what he's doing.
Especially the team itself.
Well, that's the most important. I mean, he's got, the boosters and the backers and all of those people are going to be there no matter what, because they want they want to wear the team jackets and stuff. But you got to get the players to buy in.
Yeah.
Tougher these days because players have options.
Isn't it funny that in college football they still have these huge teams because they're state organizations? You can't say you can't play football for us. Yes, you can be on the team. No, you're never going to play. You travel with the team, you run on the field with the team, then you stand around during the game. And that's a tradition of football that hasn't left us yet.
Well, maybe one day soon, two things will happen to college football. Number one, those guys will get to play. Number two, they'll start paying taxes on what they earn.
Isn't that taxable income?
Well, I don't know that the universities pay taxes on what they earn from the teams. I mean, universities are nonprofit corporations, aren't they?
I don't know what restrictions there are in their income from sports.
It's a state institute. If they're state institute, I mean, maybe if they're a private college, but if they're state institutions, I don't think they pay taxes on that money. The money they get for income from all different, from television rights and all that.
Root Sports has to write a check to somebody.
Well, I don't think they carry college. I don't think they carry college sports, so I'm not sure, but it'll be interesting. This is all a moving work in progress.
Yeah.
All right, Mikey.
Hey,
You're gonna watch
what do you
the
do?
game tonight, I'm sure.
I'm going to watch the game. 4:30. I'll be there on ESPN.
4:30. I'll be cooking some hamburgers and hot dogs and watching the game.
Yep, absolutely. That's how you do it.
All right, and then I will catch up with you on Wednesday morning if the Lord's will and the creek don't rise.
And by Wednesday, we'll find out what other players have signed with the Dodgers.
I hear they're trying to sign Duke Snyder and Willie Mays.
Willie is available. I think the Duke's a little hard to find.
No, they know right where he is. It's just hard to get him to sign. All right, pal.
Okay,
go Huskies. Thought I'd never ever say that in my life, but go Huskies and peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine. What a team. See you, Ben.
See you, Mikey. And thank you all for listening. We'll catch up with you on Wednesday. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.